Hey, what's up guys, Chris Gunn here and welcome to another Creative Visuals tutorial. Let's take a look at what we're gonna be creating today. Pretty awesome. Now, as you guys know, this is part 3 of the Soul Blade tutorial series and it's the one that I'm pretty sure you guys have been the most excited about because blades in soul form, summoned, pretty cool stuff. Now, before we get started guys, I just want to let you guys know that you can get access to these projects and a ton of other projects through the Creatrix Vault. I will have the link in the description, and of course guys, any assets, any sound effects you might think that you want, go take a look at the Creatrix store because we have some pretty awesome stuff over there as well. And with that said, fire up After Effects and let's get started. Okay guys, so here we are within After Effects and I have the entire composition of the Soul Blades and we're gonna take a look step by step on how to do this effect. Now, I have to say, if you guys have not checked out the previous 2 tutorials on this, do make sure to check it out because I cannot reverse engineer an entire project and make everything on the fly as I'm making the tutorial. So do make sure, because I already made a tutorial on how to create this awesome darkness cinematic scene. And with that said, let's have a look at my project, which, like I said guys, you can get access through the Creatrix Vault and get access to awesome product samples as well as clips and basically everything you need in order to make this happen. So, in order to create this effect, what you need to do is have either a green screen or a blue screen. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna use a couple of clips, this one, which is basically the actor, in this case myself, as well as 2 more clips that are green screens of just the katana, because we're gonna use that in order to get this awesome shape for the soul. So let's go back to the After Effects. So like I said guys, you're gonna need a green screen and I'm gonna show you exactly why. Also, I'm not gonna cover the grading or this cool RGB split and edge blur effect that you see here because I already covered it in the cinematic darkness green screen tutorial. So go and take a look at that. So I'm gonna open up my Soul VFX composition. Here we go, and as you can see guys, we have a lot of craziness happening, but don't be alarmed. I'm gonna take you through this step by step so you can do the same thing. So I'm gonna start by isolating myself, right? The green screen footage that we got straight out of the camera. Now, this is what it looks like without the green screen, right? So as you can see here, if I click through this, we have a clear separation of what's happening in the background, the middle ground, which is myself, and then the foreground, which is this blade and the particles that go on top of everything because they're supposed to be in front. So that is why you're gonna need either a blue screen or a green screen to achieve a similar effect. So I'm gonna re-isolate my layer, and like I said, I have multiple effects here of how to remove the green screen, but I cannot go through this because we've been through this before. The only thing that's different is this effect, but this is a plugin, and basically because of some settings that I had, the skin texture was kind of getting messed up with some effects, so that's why I just put this plugin which is called Cosmo, and it just smoothens the skin bit. But you don't need this, so don't worry about it. So here's what we're gonna do now. I'm gonna open up my background as well as the fog sample, and this is how it looks. Obviously not that good. So I'm gonna start opening up some of the blade effects, and it's gonna take a while. Like I said guys, this is a very heavy project for After Effects, and that is why I cannot recreate it on the fly. So, but let's take a look at what we have here because this is really cool. So as you can see, we have multiple variations of the same clip. As you can see here, white katana, and white katana is because the entire sword was within the frame when I recorded it. And what I've done is basically I duplicated, played with the position and rotation and just placed it randomly across the background, and it looks like this. Now obviously this is not how it looks from the get-go, right? So I'm gonna double click and open this one. So as you can see, if I close up everything, this is how it originally looks like. I have a green screen, I have the sword, and I just had the my green screen removed so I can just have the sword. Once I've done that, I pre-composed it so I don't have to worry about all of these effects, because I'm gonna put new effects on top of the sword in order to make it look like that. Now, quick tip guys, if your computer is not strong enough to handle this all in one go, you can pre-render, for example, this one. So After Effects does not have to handle all the green screen effects and moving effects and on top of anything else you put on it. So certain things, if your computer is not strong enough, that doesn't mean that you cannot do VFX. You're just gonna have a bit of a harder time to get there, but you're gonna get there. So make sure that you guys pre-render something if you can, for example this one, and then take that render and put it back in, so After Effects has an easier time going through things. But enough of that. So let me just go here again. So like I said, we have the white katana, it's positioned not under my character layer, so it gets behind, in all honesty, no better way of saying it. So, and I just have duplicates and I change the position. So for example, if I click this, I can drag it around and change the position of the sword. So this just, you know, play around, see what works and see what doesn't work. So see, let me Control Z, go back. Awesome. So here's what I did. Now I'm just gonna isolate one of the swords so I can show you guys what's happening here. So I'm gonna zoom in, pretty cool. So this is our sword green screen composition. And here's what you need, see? It looks like that basically. So here's an awesome effect that not many people know about. Are you ready? It's called Find Edges, and it's this effect here. And if you can't find it, it's very easy. You just go over to, I'm missing my effects app, so let's go to Window, Effects and Presets, I think. Yeah, if you click this, it will give you the search bar with all the effects and you'll have no problem. So what does this effect do? It basically takes something and it finds the edges. I know you are as shocked as I am, but try to stick with me so we can get through this tutorial. Anyways, sorry. So it basically takes whatever you have and it finds the edges. And because we used a green screen composition, After Effects does not have any background that's black or anything, or it's not a box, it's just the sword or the katana better, just to be accurate, that it reads and it finds the edges. Now, that's cool and all, but we can do a couple of things to make it look even better. So as you can see, before my Find Edges effect, I have a curves adjustment. And I'm having those curves adjustments just to adjust the alpha and the RGB of the blade, just to make, basically control the amount of edges that After Effects finds with the Find Edges effect. So I played around, this looks kind of crazy, but you know, this is not that important. You can just play around and you will see how the edges of whatever you have are getting affected because of the curves adjustment. Then I have my glow effect, just to put a cool glow, and then I have the free plugin from Video Copilot, the awesome Andrew Kramer, which is Video Copilot Color Vibrance. And like I said, it's a free plugin and it's a must for colorizing effects, especially glow. When you're using glow, just get this effect, it's amazing. So, and this is how it looks like. And this is cool, but we're not done there. So if I go to the one before, and if I'm mistaken, open it, let's see what happens. Perfect. Yeah, I got this, guys. So as you can see, I duplicated the first one. Same exact effects, but only one thing is different. But do not worry guys, you can do this entirely with After Effects, because I know that some of you do not like the heat distortion plugin because it's not free, but you can do the same or something similar within After Effects. So we have everything the same, duplicated, and then I added the heat distortion effect. If you want to copy my exact numbers, they're right here. I don't advise you because not the same thing does not look as good when you just put it on something new, but here are the figures. Now what this does, it takes our sword and it creates that cool waving distortion effect. And what you can do if you do not have heat distortion is go to Effects, Distort, and use Turbulent Displays. That is essentially going to give you a very similar example of how this would look. And actually I'm going to pop up my first concept for this where I did use the turbulent display, so it should be on the screen right now. And as you can see, you can get the same effect. You just have to do a tiny bit more work. So what that does is, because we have the duplicates, we have the blade by itself, so we don't lose the shape, but then the one below has that cool waving distortion effect, and basically makes it look like it's an aura of some sort and not an actual sword. Basically looks like a soul of a blade. Ooh, I might just had a title idea, who knows. Anyways, so this is what this is, and of course by changing the color vibrance effect, I can make this sword red or pink or purple or green, anything that your character you feel like he needs, you know. I don't know, maybe his costume has some clean accents, or his eyes are green, you know, then it would look really cool if the sword had that same color. So anyways, I'm gonna reopen all of those things now so you can see what we're working with. So I did the same thing for every single blade. I just duplicated, rotated, played around to find a cool setting, and this is what it looks like, which is pretty cool. But now let's see what else I did to make this look even better. Now I'm gonna open my eyes effect, so the heat waves. No, we don't need the heat waves anymore. Just give it a second so it loads up the effects. Now I'm gonna show you some cool tricks of how you can use basically when we have the blade in the front, it should illuminate light on our character, right? So I'm gonna show you a few tricks of how you can take it and use some light effects to make it look more convincing and awesome. So as you can see, we have some eye effects, and again, I've done a tutorial, an extensive tutorial. I think that thing is over an hour long on fantasy eyes, so I highly urge you guys to go check that out. But anyways, let's stick to this tutorial for now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open these two layers first, and bear with me as the computer is struggling to record and edit at the same time. So as you can see, I have this cool light effect here, as well as some distortion as well. So let's take a look at what each of those things does. So the glow effect is simply an adjustment layer. You go to layer, new, adjustment layer. And what I did then, I took my pen tool and I very roughly, in all honesty, draw a mask around the hand to where that sword should cast light, right? After I did this, I changed the adjustment layer to screen, and then I put a curves adjustment, and as you can see, I increased the RGB so it's even lighter. I increased the blue, decreased the red, and left the green as is. Now, why I changed the colors, it's very important, because I know that I have a blue blade. I know that the light effect should be cast and have a blue hue as well. So that's why you can see the blue curve and the red curve like that. If I wanted a green effect, I would take the green up, the red probably down. You know what I'm saying, basically. And then I had a hue and saturation adjustment, and I'd simply increased the saturation so the blue would become more evident. Very simple stuff, guys, and very straightforward, but as you can see, when you put one thing over the other, you start getting something that's really awesome and looks cinematic. So that is up with what the glow effect does. So let's see what the heat wave does. As you can see, same thing again, layer, new, adjustment layer, have a mask to where I want the effect to take place, and then I have my heat distortion effect take place. Again, you can use the Turbulent Displays effect instead of heat distortion, so it is not a must-have. Again, if you want to know the exact values that I used to the distortion that took place, they're right there. So I'm gonna open the Katana now so we can see how all of those things come together. And time now. Perfect. So as you can see, we have the Katana, and if I click on the Katana, you can see that we have almost the same things. Now, because this one was a close-up of the sword, you can see that we have the cutoff there, but because I knew that I would use the cinematic aspect ratio, I was not worried about that. And I also used a fast blur in order to make the thing look less sharp, because for some reason it was too sharp for me. It felt kind of very digital, so I just used a fast box blur just to blur it up just a touch. Then I put a camera shake to just kind of make it wiggle. Oh, here's the thing, guys. In this video clip, where is it? In the white Katana video clip, I had a natural wrist movement, so the Katana was moving very smoothly by default, because that's how I recorded it. But I did not realize that in the close-up Katana, I did not move the sword as well, so it was too stationary. So to my surprise, the swords that had the natural movement of the wrist turned out to need no extra movement when it came to how they looked, because because they're supposed to just suspend in air by the force or something, they need to have just a slight movement. They cannot just be a static object in the frame. So with the natural movement of the wrist, it really worked out, and I didn't have to do anything. It just looked super awesome. Whereas the close-up of the sword was stationary. I had a lot of problems, so I needed to animate its movement, and that's why you can see that camera shake effect. Also, I used where's my null? Why can't I see it? Perfect. I tracked the palm of my hand, because again, the palm had a movement. If your palm does not have a movement, you don't need to do this step, and I do hope that you know how to track, how to do a simple 2D track, but in case you don't, I don't want to just leave you hanging. So you go to your clip, you right click, and you select track motion. Once you do this, I'm gonna do this for you now. It's gonna take you to another tab here. It's gonna give you a point, and you need to take that point and place it to the area that you want to track, and then you can change it around, depending on what you want to track. And then what you would do is track forward or backwards depending on your clip. After that is done, you would create a layer, new, null object, and you would edit target to that null that you created. Press apply and you're good to go. Once you do this, you're gonna have a null object that hopefully is very nicely linked to your scene, like this one is. So why do we have to preview this? Anyways, so I did this, and as you can see, guys, I give you the full transparency of what goes into creating this scene, even down to the smallest details. So we have the null, it tracks the palm. So what I did, I selected my katanas and I linked them to that null, so the sword would follow that natural hand movement, because it's supposedly controlling it, right? So it's little details like this that, when everything comes together, create something truly special. So that's pretty much it. If I remove my isolations, we're gonna see how the entire thing looks, which basically after that I put the particles effect. overlay essentially, which it is from the Cinema Particles pack, guys, which you can get from the Creative Store, and I highly suggest it because they're awesome. I use those things all the time, and this is what will look. Now, a quick final thoughts on the overall project that I might have overlooked. Another thing that I did, or better off, I made sure that I did, is I had a curves adjustment that has the exact same idea behind, like I showed you with the palm light effect. So because our blade is casting a blue light in our scene, our character should have a bluish hue overcast from that blade. And you say, yeah, but we just did it in the hand. Yeah, but you should have just a tiny slightly hue effect overcast in him as well when it comes to the clothes and his skin. If I turn this off and on, you will see a huge difference between the colors of the actor. Myself, I don't know, I'm having trouble. Should I call myself just by myself, or say the character, or whatever, who knows. So as you can see, ignore the light, the contrast difference. Do you see how we have warm tones all around, in the blacks, in the whites, in the skin color? By adjusting this, by bringing up the blues, reducing the reds, etc., we cast a bluish overall, a cold tone to the character, and that helps a lot with the scene. So if you got the green value, play with the greens. If you got the red value, play with the reds. I'm pretty sure you guys get this by now, because you're awesome. Okay guys, so last thing that you need to do is, of course, put an overall color grade, and as I explained at the beginning, I had some extra effects, a noise effect as a last thing, just to, you know, make everything blend together very nicely, and we have our effect. Okay guys, so that's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial and you learned something. Make sure to check the links in the description and any other tutorial on the channel, and subscribe if you haven't for some reason, cause you never know. So, okay guys, I'll catch you guys on the next one, and until then, stay awesome and creative.